Girls, come to story time. In the great green room, there's a telephone and a red balloon.
Yeah, please don't do this. Goodnight Moon is for babies.
It's a board book, dude.
Okay, fine. What's it gonna be? You guys pick.
Okay, we love this one.
Oh, A Massive Collection Volume 1 by Steve Sirk. You know, this is the first wide-ranging collection of his work. It features long-lost stories dating as far back as '97. It has a lot of popular favorites from over the years, too.
Well, what is volume 1? Like it's quiet?
No, it means it's like the first of a larger set.
Oh, okay, so where's the next one?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because Volume 2 just came out. You can get it at Steve Sirk's website, sirkbook.com. It'll also be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Links will be available at
We are not listening to you. Just go order it.
By my book, all Sirk's books are available at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. See SirkBook.com for more details.
So far, the crew has cleared every hurdle naysayers have placed in their way. Columbus would be home to one of the 10 inaugural teams. Columbus has outperformed much larger cities. The true success indicator has been from the fans.
Hello and welcome to the club. It's the Upper 90 Club. I'm your host, Mars. With me in the club are Ben, Mort, Trey, and Haas. This is our off-week production of the Upper 90 Club.
Filled with COVID.
Sorry.
Why are you talking like that?
Well, because he put me down last week about how I was
His pep.
I'm not cutting this. We're still rolling.
Sleepy. What was his name?
Sleepy Pete.
Low energy Jeb is what I was trying to remember. Please clap. Okay, so on this episode, we are going to this is great. We have an interview with Steve Sirk, the de facto historian of the Columbus Crew.
Sirk joins the circus.
Yeah.
You've been holding on to that one forever.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, don't smile like that. I was actually going to use massive as an acronym, like Mr. Awesome Steve Sirk is very, and then I was going to say incredible, but I think that starts with an I.
Yes,
You think it starts with an I?
Encyclopedia.
It's
very encyclopedic. Good job.
His new book is A Massive Collection, Volume 2, and we talked to him about that and many other things. So that was good to talk to him, especially on the off week here. We don't have a game to review, but we will get a update from Bird as we're recording. We're kind of waiting to see the result of the Austin, Colorado.
70th minute
Austin.
is 0-0.
We want Austin to win so that they will come to Columbus and lose, right?
Yeah. I said it that way, so I can't clip that, right?
A lot of people said today that they want to see Colorado lose. That's how they put it.
Oh, okay.
That's better.
Well
That's
said.
better.
Much better. Well, so I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff here. So, all right. We're also going to, get the update from Bird, and then we're going to just kind of talk through the table. We did a little bit of this last week. I think much of it got cut for time, but
Nearly all of it.
nearly all of it. But things are shaping up. Nashville did a solid
Beat New England
this week, and
that was a wild ride.
We'll talk more about that
Yeah, I didn't
at the tail end of this show. So I think I already said who was on, everyone.
We should talk about the Nordic
a couple
Cup.
of you guys, that's exactly what I was going to say, is a couple of these guys are just hoping that we can get through this show so that they can, go to sleep. Trey and Mort were in the Nordica Cup today at Historic Crew Stadium. Mort won the whole dang thing
by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mort and his team. Yes.
So I guess
Mort's
I'll throw to Ben first. Did you play, Ben?
No, I have COVID.
All right. That's I knew you were going to say that. So Mort, let's go to you.
Thanks, Trey, for subbing.
And Trey subs for Ben.
You're welcome.
Mort, tell us about the tournament.
No, it was great. It was a much smaller tournament this year and last year, from what I understand. It was 6 teams, but the thing they did differently was that everything was randomized. So you just have random players. They kind of rated themselves and they put them on teams. And I happened to get on a pretty good team that took me all the way. So a little shout out to a couple of people there. Obviously, first of all, to Aaron, because Aaron carried this team and scored all the goals. So Aaron
nice.
Griffith. Yeah, and she was playing like she said, "I got to leave. I have more games to play." I was like, "You played a whole tournament." She was going to Resolute, and then she's going to go some other place to play afterwards. So it's like, "How old are you?" She's like 25. Okay, that starts to explain it. I'm going to go home and lay on the couch and cry. So that's my plan.
Trey couldn't get out of the car.
Nope. Yeah, so it was a good organized thing. It was very friendly, very laid back. I guess there was some stuff last year, but this year was nothing. Everybody was just happy to be there and having a good time.
How long were the matches?
It's only 25-minute matches.
Okay.
So it was kind of like playing 2 full games when we played 4 games. To put it that way. So that's the only reason we could kind of survive it. I was on the team with Ty Phillips, the manager of supporter relations. He also is a part of organizing the whole event as well.
Is he?
So he was reffing. Yeah,
I texted him before. I'm like, "Yo, are you playing?" And he's like, "Yeah." Because I think he also get promoted. I think he's like technically front office, like legit front office staff now. So he's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to play. So when I saw you got drawed with him, I was like, oh, cool. Because we used to
Was
play.
there any evidence that he like put his thumb on the scale?
He couldn't reward himself, so everybody on the winning team got a reward. We could talk about that later, but he said I can't take one because that's not
because they already give me them for free.
You're gonna do your shout outs, but then I want to hear about the reward.
Oh yeah, okay. And we had Donnie Markham that we had, of course, on here from Black Flag Social Club. So he was on your team. Represented. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the teams, I don't get all the names right. Whatever. Ben, Sam, Colton, Brian, Jose, of course, Aaron, the MVP of the tournament, scored all the goals, and it was fun.
You are all champions. And so what will you receive as the reward for your accomplishments today?
COVID.
We were told that we are getting the 2024 new crew jersey when that is being released. So that's pretty sweet.
Because they'll do a new gold one, right?
Yeah, it's a gold year this year, so that's pretty sweet.
And Trey, so you guys did not win, but still, I'm sure you tried really hard.
We did.
Did you know anyone on your team?
On my team, most notably, we had Morgan Hughes.
Okay.
And there was a couple other people that I honestly do not remember a lot of names. And then I ended up playing with the second team because they didn't have any subs.
Ah, gotcha.
But
how did you fare?
Job.
You played me.
We lost out to Morton's team 2-1.
Okay.
Honestly, if we would have beat you guys, we probably would have done pretty well.
Yeah, that was the toughest.
Kicked the football over the mountains too. Right?
It was the toughest game. The toughest game of the day was the one that I played you. And it could easily have gone both ways. Yeah.
Well, Travis Irvine was on your first team, right?
Travis didn't make the tournament.
Okay.
So he did not make it today.
I was gonna say, he's from
New
York City.
I mean, it was a great job by Ty and Nordek, and it was honestly a very fun tournament. And if anybody is ever thinking about signing up to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And then get COVID.
You can come any skill level, have fun, play on the historic Crew Stadium turf. Yeah, it was totally worth it. Next year,
you were good with the turf?
Yeah, the turf was good.
All right.
It was all right.
All right.
Not quite moist enough, but it was good.
Clip that. Okay. All right. So let's get into our interview with Steve here, and then I think we're gonna just go straight into the Crew 2 update with Bird, and then we'll kind of take a look at the table here and talk about what's to come and what matchups we may see going into the playoffs. So we'll be right back.
This episode of the Upper 90 Club is brought to you, as always, by Supporter Supply Company. Hi, friends, this is your good pal Morgan Hughes, here to talk to you about a serious issue facing 96% of all crew supporters in Columbus. Why, not enough free shipping, of course. For a limited time now, through the eventual heat death of the universe, Upper 90 Club listeners can use the promo code Upper90Boys. That's boys with a Z on the end of it, at checkout for free delivery on absolutely any order over $10. But Morgan, what if I order $10 worth of stickers, or those goddamned buttons, or some other combination of small items that make you want to kill yourself? Will the free shipping still apply then, even as you curse our family, while you package up our little tiny annoying ass order for us? Of course it will. That's just how much we here at Supporter Supply value our friends at the Upper 90 Club. So head on over to supportersupply.co and use the promo code Upper90Boys. That's boys with a Z at checkout for free shipping on all your orders over $10. And don't forget to tell them that your friends at the Upper 90 Club sent ya.
So with us in the club is Steve Sirk. He is the official historian of the Columbus Crew. You may have other titles, Steve, and we'll get into that, but appreciate you making time to talk to us. You have a new book out called A Massive Collection, Volume 2. And again, we're thrilled to have you here. So welcome to the club.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So for those who don't know, why don't you kind of just do a quick intro of yourself and your affiliation with the crew, so we can set the stage, and then we can jump into what you're up to today and the new book, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm kind of de facto historian of the club. I was at the very first game, and was interested in the team. Even leading up to the formation of MLS, and the second season. I'm sorry, the third season. So 1998. I had an opportunity to start covering the team, and had no idea what I was doing, and just kind of fell into it. And as the years progress, and you make those relationships, and get to know people, and just started kind of chronicling stories about the team, and just kind of holding on to that, and just trying to share, just trying to tell stories about the club. And then decades go by, and all of a sudden you're an old person, and you're like a historian.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. And so, and I love I'm reading the new book. I love how it is a collection of stories, as you say. And I say that because when we started this show, it kind of came from us just talking about the crew. But as we talked to more people that were affiliated with the club in one way or another, and or supporters of other clubs, etc., the picture that began to be painted was that there were just so many perspectives of this same thing that we all love. And I felt like, as I read the book, that you've kind of done that. Like, you've kind of accomplished a lot of the same kind of goal, to a much greater extent, of just chronicling the shared experiences that so many people have with this team that we love. So, well said. So I guess you said that you started covering the team in '98. Was that freelance, or is that like an official position with the club, or?
No, it was just a total fluke. So when I was in college, I would just write silly things for fun, like I tape them to my dorm room door, like one of our friends would go on a date, and I'd write like a fake news story about his, just like whatever, he came back and talked about his date, and except I would write it as like a news story, completely making fun of, things like that, like just completely stupid crap, pointless stuff that I would just do to entertain myself and my friends. And then, so 98, I mean, I graduated in 97. So it was like a year out of college, more than a year out of college at this point. And, No, not a year, almost a year out of college. And a guy who lived in my dorm, Abram Shearer, he says, "Hey, he was living up in Michigan, and he's like, oh, I ran into this guy. He's got this magazine called the Michigan Soccer News, and Brian Mazenall's from Michigan, and the guy said, he wished he could cover the Crew more, but they're so far away." He was like, "Oh, I know this guy who's a good writer, and he likes the Crew. Like, you should have him do it." And so he just put me in touch with this guy, and all of a sudden, like, we had a 5-minute conversation, and just based on me living in Columbus, he's just like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll get you a press pass." I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. All of a sudden I have a press pass, and all of a sudden I'm going to games, and like, I don't know anybody or what I'm doing or what I'm supposed to be doing, or this wasn't what I went to school for or anything. I was like, all right, I guess that's what I'm doing. And so, and I mean, I've told the story before how Brian Mazanoff is the nicest person in the world. So Mays being from Detroit, they wanted me to kind of focus on him. And so I went to like media day in '98, and the first, the PR director, Jeff Worth, he introduces me to Mays. He's like, "Hey, this guy's covering the team for this Michigan thing," and this is before cell phones and everything, right? And Mays is like, "Oh, so nice to meet you." He gets some piece of paper. I still have it somewhere. Writes his home phone number. He's just like, "Call me anytime you need anything."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Just call me anytime you need anything." And I was like, "What the hell just happened?" Like I am like this nobody. I don't even know what I'm doing. And this guy, who was one of my favorite players at that, time, is a fan, just right away, just, here's my home phone number. Call me anytime you need anything. I'm like, all right. And I tell Mace to this day, I was like, like, if you would have been a dick to me, like, I don't know that I ever would have like survived it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like,
it's like, don't meet your idols.
Right. And he was like the nicest person, hands me his home phone number, like the day we meet. So that kind of sets me at ease a little, because I'm like, well, I mean, this guy's nice. All right. How bad could this be? So I just kind of fell into it. And then, I met like, Craig Mers and Dwight Burgess and people like that. And they were very helpful and kind of showing me the ropes. And Jeff Worth, the PR director, would like yell at me all the time for all the things I was doing wrong, that were unprofessional. And so I kind of learned that way too, like, okay, well, don't do that.
What was the media landscape like in those early years? Like, was it, did you see that you had a lot of peers out there, or were you like, the only game in town? What did it look like?
Well, I mean, you had Mers at the Dispatch. At that time, so '98, that was when I think Crew Fans started. So that was like the precursor of something that was like Massive Report.
Yeah.
Now, kind of a, at that point, fan centric, website, but that would, write about all the games and editorials and, things like that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the precursor of that. But they weren't credentialed. Really, the media landscape, I mean, it's like, yeah, pretty much Mers. Dwight was doing games on the radio. There wasn't. Probably like the other paper. I think was around. Then, but
yeah. Well, I get the feeling from just the MLS when I was in Columbus anyway, and I would imagine that it would be even more welcoming earlier on. That these players and these teams, they want to be accessible and open to, making relationships with folks that are interested in the team, because they're still blazing the trail, right? I mean, I can't think of
back then I felt like they were just making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, should we have a photographer at the game? It's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I mean, everyone, especially at that stage, in the very, very earliest days, like in the '90s, I mean, it was, still very much just trying to sell the game, sell the team, sell the league, and people like, I mean, it was very accessible. I mean, the players were super accessible, because everyone wanted the game to grow and wanted, they wanted everything to succeed. So and MLS as a whole was very small potatoes back then.
Yeah.
Columbus had some success right out of the gate, but as a whole, so yeah, there was someone like me who didn't even know what I was doing and just fell into this. It was a good time for that to happen, just because everyone was so kind and open and accommodating and trying to grow the game and so it was kind of an environment, kind of ripe for that sort of thing.
Well, so you were a fan first, and I had the luxury of being a fan just later, like 07-ish. And by then, I think some of the staples were kind of like, there were crew fans at Ruby's before all the games, and there was, a march to the stadium, and the Nordeca had kind of, had an identity in a few different groups. And so it's easy for me to say like, oh, my ritual was, we go to the bar and then we, run across the train tracks and try not to get hit by a train and try even harder after, a couple of giant Modelo's and that kind of thing. And, but as a fan, how do you watch the games? What's your game day ritual? Or how did it start, or how has it evolved?
I don't know that I really had, those first couple of years at Ohio State, like the first year I had an internship in Columbus. So I was living down on campus. Like I just, rented, someone was gone for the summer, a student gone for the summer, and I just rented, for the summer while I was in town for my internship. So I just, walk over to the games. I don't know. I never really had any particular ritual. Later on, like when I, covering the team at historic Crew Stadium, I definitely had, game day rituals in terms of like, okay, when I get there, first place I go is the tunnel, I'll talk to the guys when they come in, then I'd go up to the press box and, talk to, the beat writers or A-Race or Bob Hunter or someone, whoever was around. And then I would like take a couple laps around the stadium, see who I'd find walking the concourse, and just, I kind of had little, rituals like that. But as far as just a general game day ritual, I don't really have.
Well, I mentioned going to Ruby's, and I read in your new book about Ziggy's Thursday sessions at Ruby. Somehow, I don't know if I was like doing karaoke or something on Thursday nights, but I never managed to know about or stumble upon Ziggy Schmidt being at Ruby's on Thursday nights. Did you attend those sessions or any of those sessions? Did you interact with him, and what was that like?
I never went to the Ruby. I obviously interacted with him over the years.
Yeah.
And as coach at games and practices and stuff. But I never went to the Ruby's things. It just seemed like it was like just a cool thing. He would go and just hang out at the bar and
talk a little bit about that. It was like pretty cool that he was doing it like on his own time.
I don't think we're gonna see Nazi at Ruby Tuesdays or like Bourbon Street. We're not gonna.
Yeah, and it started before the game where the Nordeca was born. So like in 2008, before the first game, I think maybe they even had like a preseason thing where like, oh, Ziggy's going to come by,
Yeah.
And then, they won, and, Ziggy's not going to mess with a superstition. Right. So it just became, okay, well, the next Thursday I'm going, and it just turned into a thing. And yeah, he would just sit at the bar and talk to whoever wanted to talk to him about soccer. And, it didn't have to be the crew. It could be about anything, the guy would just talk about soccer and tell stories to anyone, and so, no pretense from him in that scenario. I'm sure he had to sit there and listen to, drunk people tell him all the things he was doing wrong.
Right. What play three in the
should
back
be starting and what sort of tactics he should be employing. I'm sure he had to, kind of suffer through that some, but
there weren't as many podcasts there at that time when people could just, hey, like, air their dirty laundry or whatever about the crew.
But he probably even enjoyed that.
Yeah.
He was. It was just a cool thing, and I mean, I never went down there for it because I also just felt like, okay, this is a cool thing that he does. And
Yeah.
just kind of let it be. And I just thought it was hilarious that after he left and he was coaching Seattle, he always made sure to get the team out here in time so that he could go to Ruby's on Thursday.
Oh wow, yeah.
Even when he was coaching the Sounders, because he didn't want to, he still thought it was like good luck.
Right.
So
well, we discussed in the last couple episodes about how early a team goes to a game, and it sounds like if it was Seattle in 09 or whatever it was, 2010, they were coming early. So that he could go.
No one flies the same day.
Didn't they win?
No, they don't. No.
Didn't they? They won a game on the. Wasn't there a storied PK where it was against Seattle when he was here?
Oh yeah, when Tyrone Marshall dug up the penalty spot.
Yeah,
yeah. That was a crazy night. So they call that penalty, and I was in the radio booth, and with Neil and McCullers and Brian Bliss were in there, and so there's all the everyone's arguing, and I just happened to notice because I saw all the ball kids like pointing at something. I was like, what's going on? And I know, and then I look, and there's Tyrone Marshall just digging a crater where the penalty spot would normally be.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get like McCullers' attention or Bliss's attention, but by the time, because they were like, about the penalty or whatever. And
yeah.
And then the Guiget starts complaining, and the ref's like, here, set it over here, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Guiget misses the penalty, and at the time I think like Seattle was like clinging to like the last playoff spot or something. And at the time I was just kind of like, well, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to try and win. It was a bit of gamesmanship, and it actually paid off. He missed his penalty, and Seattle wins. And
well, yeah.
So then
he was probably a little put off from having to show up so early for the game. It's like,
so then we go down, so like in the locker room, and then Guiget being Guiget saying like the most hilarious things ever.
Right.
And he's like, oh, they broke the floor before the penalty.
Right.
Which just killed me.
Yeah.
So after that, we like went out to the tent, and Dante comes up to me. I was like, I know if only one other person in the stadium saw it, it was you. I was like, oh, Tyrone digging up the spot. He's like, exactly. So then it was Chris Bear, who used to be a trainer, or not the trainer, the equipment guy, like a long time ago. He was talking with us. He was like, oh, you should go take photos of it. And I was like, oh yeah, well, why didn't I think of that? So Tucker Walther and I, like, we run back into the stadium, and we go out on the field, and we're trying to like, there's like a crater where the penalty spot used to be, but it can't, I'm trying to take pictures, especially like when was this, 2010 era cell phone.
Yeah, you got
like the Razor.
The Razor.
We're trying to get pictures, and it's like, it's not really doing it justice. I mean, you could tell that there's not a spot where the spot was supposed to be, but you couldn't really tell how deep it is. And then Tucker's like, wait. So then
Tucker is the marketing director. What was his job?
Tucker, he was like the team administrator, so he like all the travel, all the he kind of oversaw all the operations of the team. He basically made he was kind of anything to do with the team side itself. He kind of went through him. It was quite a job. I mean, that guy was like on the phone 24 hours a day. I don't know when he ever slept, but we were like trying to prop up like a drink. He's like, oh, I got a drink ticket in my pocket. So we're trying to get a photo showing like the drink ticket. He's doing the whole
like
and
banana for scale.
Then we put like like Tucker's cell phone in there to try to prop the drink ticket up.
Yeah.
And, like, it was so stupid. And we're trying to take these photos, and then I wrote something about it like that night. And then, all the Seattle people went crazy talking about, sore losers and blah, 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 all that stuff. And Ziggy's like, I have no idea what he's even talking about. And I was like, oh, come on, Ziggy. You know what I'm talking about. But, he, publicly he had to say like, oh, I don't know anything about any of this,
Yeah.
And so, it kind of blew up for a little while, and it was pretty entertaining to me because I'm like, I wasn't even mad. I just thought it was hilarious. And I was like, oh yeah, let's go take pictures and let's write about this, because I thought it was like a fun little game within the game, type of moment. So then I don't remember when this was, 2016 or 17 or something. Brian Dunseth was in town, and we were, getting drinks or hanging out or whatever, and in the arena district, and Tyrone Marshall happened to be there. And so Dunny like waves him over to our table, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And I'm just like waiting for it. And then finally, at some point, Dunny's like, oh, Tyrone, remember, when you,
Yeah. He's like,
and I was like,
what?
yeah, that was me. I was like, that was me. Confession time. And Tyrone just started laughing.
Yeah.
He just admitted, he was like, oh yeah, I did.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's like a known thing.
He denied it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, of course, he denied it, but when it happened, but we were just laughing about it, So I thought that was kind of fun. It was like, oh, all those years later, we just happened to run into each other.
I thought you were going to say he was like, like scratching the floor at the bar with a chair or something.
No, but it was just pretty funny because it was like a fun little trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
we just laughed about it. But
so
I think that was in volume. I think I put that. Yeah, that was in volume 1. Like that whole saga, the breaking the floor.
No, I just read about it in volume 2.
Oh, it was in volume 2. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So, and I want to make
track of which one.
Yeah, so many volumes.
I lose track of which one was in which. I lose track of what's in which one.
Yeah.
I've written a bunch of books too. It's hard.
Well, all this started as like one big thing. Then I was like, well, there's way too much stuff for one. So then I kind of it was more like, it wasn't even like, oh, volume 1 is the best of, and then volume 2 is the leftovers. It was kind of more like just trying to break it down like into chunks of similar, chunks about this or chunks about that, or
Yeah. So I want to set it up too. So let's talk about the book. The new one is A Massive Collection, Volume 2. It sounds like you're zooming out. Kind of talk about what's in it and how it came to be.
This whole project actually started 2016, 17, something. So Erica Kress, who was the former VP of marketing, she sent me a link to an old article I wrote about Mark Doherty in like I think it was 2000 or 99.
99. I just read it.
99. Yeah. And it turns out Mark's now wife, uncovered it from Internet Archive or something, and sent it to Erica. She knew Erica, and she was like, "Oh, look at this article I found about Mark," and Erica forwarded it to me, and it really just kind of dawned on me. I was like, man, a lot of the stuff you do it on the internet, you just think it's forever, but it's really not. Like websites disappear, or or they get updated and they don't import the old stuff. I was like, there's so much stuff that's
looking at you,
currently
MySpace.
Lost. Yeah, right. There's so much stuff that's either currently lost or will be lost in the future, and it's like, no, I should try and pull some of this stuff, these kinds of stories together, and just so to preserve them and make sure they're documented. And so that's kind of that was kind of the genesis of the idea of doing these kind of just story collections. Plus I just love books like that too, like you could just pick them up and read. Some chapters are like 2 pages, some are like 5, but it's like, oh, you could just pick it up and
someone was like, well, is it like a coffee table book? And I was like, kind of not. Yeah, I mean, I was like, you could pick it up and put it down. The chapters are anywhere between like a couple paragraphs describing like Bruce Arena, or like like longer ones. Like the Doherty one was a little bit longer, but it was like that was just more like you were just upset that he didn't get on the MLS All-Star team.
All-Star team.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that was just kind of the thought. I was like, oh, preserve these stories. And so I started working. I mean, I had to like unearth like like one site I wrote for, Match Night, they no longer exist, and they had set it up to block like the scraping from Internet Archive or whatever. So like none of that stuff exists on Internet Archive, and I had lost almost all of that stuff in a hard drive crash too. So I mean,
yeah,
pretty much most of the 2004 and 2005 are just like lost forever. For stuff I wrote, except for a handful of things that like I found like in my email, like I emailed it to myself or whatever. I found a few things, but yeah. So I just and then I just had this mountain of stuff that I found like on old hard drives, and sometimes someone I knew had a copy of it or something. But I started putting all this together, and then it was like way too much for one book. So then I just kind of divvied it up, like this section can go in one, and this other section can go in the other, in another volume, or just or I had like so many player stories, I just kind of divvied them up, across the books, But so then the idea was just whether it's player features or stories about big games or just funny ridiculous nonsense, like the like the trip to medieval times that I put in volume 1, the oral history of that ridiculous photo when the team went to medieval times.
For it.
Silly stuff like that, or and then there's some either stuff that didn't get published, originally was never published, or things I wrote new for the books, like when I tracked, well, this is also volume 1, so I don't know why I keep talking about volume 1 when volume 2 just came out, but like when Bismarcky did his just a friend, the Save the Crew thing, and I was like, if I tell one Save the Crew story, I got to get the story behind that, and I mean, actually talk to Bismarcky about it, and so I mean, there were some new things in there too, so it's not all old articles. So like this one, I think I had the the article about Josh when he had his blood clot and had to have his rib taken out. That didn't run originally, so I put that in. So there are a few things like that,
just funny stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, or the Academy. So the Academy stuff in 2012, I just like embedded with the Academy. I mean, I went on road trips with them. I was going to do like this whole big, like, I don't know, in my mind it was going to be like a 10-part, thing with the Academy. And then when Kirk Urso passed away, that just fell to the wayside. And then I started, focusing on that project. So, but I still had like a ton of stuff from that project that never saw the light of day, or so that was one of the things that went into this book. It was kind of the first piece I wrote for what was intended to be a many piece look at the Academy, but I had the first installment of that series written that never saw the light of day because I never ended up writing the rest of the series. So like that was in there to kind of give a snapshot of what it was like to be part of the Academy back in 2012.
Well, I also like how you have those like old the like you have all the stuff you used to you wrote, but then you put like little like footers at the end of each one, just like little quips here and there. I was telling earlier, I was just like, it's like really funny, like Douglas Adams style, but as like these funny things like, oh yeah, and they just wanted to go off and win, and it'd be like a little footnote like they lost, or like so I'm like, yep, that didn't happen. I was like, that's hilarious. Like I'll read the page and then I'll go to the bottom and see all these like funny footnotes, and I'll like go back up and piece them. I just think it's really clever. I've never seen a book like do that or like have anything like that. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, I thought like because some of the if I'm running an article from 2000, or if I've got something I wrote in 2007 or something in there, it's like, well, I could add more context to it, or
right,
I can make fun of something stupid I wrote, or if there's like some forward-looking statement, well, here's what actually came of that, or so it's a way to just kind of add present day context, to things that were written back then, or to just make jokes, or to just kind of better inform the piece, with the benefit of hindsight. So yeah, and that's kind of fun to do. Just kind of go through.
And I think it flows well because it's not really chronological, right? It's a collection of stories. There are almost like super chapters with sub chapters, nestled in that are related to a super chapter topic. But even within those sub chapters, there are stories within there. And so like, I'm just thinking, you writing about Randy Sims, and then, I just like, there are a few times in this book where, I don't know if it's nostalgia or just, just connecting with the shared experience, but like you had the cover of the Dispatch when the Crew won the 2008 MLS Cup with Frankie on the cover, and I just got chills. Just because the image kind of sneaks up on you because it's within, them winning the cup is within this larger piece about Randy Sims, right? And I love the way that it's all laid out because when you're reading it, you can read the story, you can appreciate the story, but it kind of intersects and weaves into your own experience as a Crew fan, right? So I think that's the most entertaining part for me is like it's almost like talking to somebody at a game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I hope so. And I just take a lot of pleasure in like kind of collecting these things and preserving these things. And I figure like my hope at least is anyone who reads it. I mean, if they're a new fan, they can obviously read about the history of the club and the people. And, if you're a new fan and you're around older fans and they're talking about this and that, and you're like, who the hell are these people? Like, you could kind of fill in the backstory. But, if you've been a fan over the years, hopefully there's, something in there that touches you like, oh, I remember, oh my gosh, yeah, that moment or that player or that,
Yeah.
And it, kind of, it can take you back.
Oh,
so
yeah, I really enjoy reading about the players and the seasons prior to when I watched the team. So there's like that experience, as you said, and then like another example I saw there was like you were talking about the Chicago game. I live in Chicago now, and the Chicago game from last year when Cucho's debut, I remembered it, and I have to issue a correction because I think I've said a couple times that Cucho scored twice in that game, but it was Etienne who scored twice, and Cucho came on and scored the winner. And I was like enjoying reading about this game because I was there. And then you dropped in this thing about how there was only one other time that the Crew had come back from 2-0, and that was when they were away at Philly.
Uh-huh.
And just in that moment, I remember it was the only time I ever watched a game at 4th Street Bar. My wife was 8 months pregnant with our first child, and she kept going to the bathroom and she kept missing the goals because they scored the 74th minute, 76th minute, or whatever, an 80th minute, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was probably one trip to the bathroom because it was
well, right.
Was
and I
78, 79, and 82.
Somewhere,
like boom, boom, boom.
Somewhere in my photo reel, I have a video of the TV at 4th Street so that I could show her the goals when she came out. And then like I think at 4th Street there was a lot of new metal going on the jukebox, but as soon as the whistle blew, put on It Ain't Over Till It's Over, Lenny Kravitz, and just jammed out. Anyway, it was just this like awesome experience, and I was reading about the Chicago game when I had this memory, so it was awesome. I loved it. Anyway, okay, so what's your Crew experience like these days? How are you affiliated? What are you up to?
It's been hard the last few years in terms of day-to-day involvement, really. I'm up in Cleveland now, and then just work responsibilities and other things. I rarely get to go to games anymore. So mostly it's just watching on TV. But periodically pitching in. Like earlier this year, the club approached me about writing about Lamar Hunt, at the start of the Open Cup, this year. So, did a piece on Lamar for the team. A couple of years ago, I was able to, for the last game at historic Crew Stadium, Neil asked me to write like a little. Well, at first it was just going to be the video intro, or write the intro to the pregame show, and then it turned into because nothing I write is ever short. It turned into pretty soon it turned into like a 6-minute video, that Sacred Ground video that ran on the pregame show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like contributions here and there, working on the books and
so still writing.
So yeah,
still writing.
Yeah.
And so you're a long distance fan like I am. What do you think of the Apple experience?
I mean, I miss having our own broadcasters. I miss having Neil and Jordan and Brett and everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, now for the home games I get to listen to Chris. I flip the audio over to Chris, and that makes it awesome because otherwise I wouldn't get to listen to Chris. So that's always fun, to listen to him call the game. But yeah, I would say that's the one difference though. It's just kind of weird not having our own broadcast team, like you're been used to for
it's like a warm blanket. Like I really got used to just hearing their voice. Like when Neil went back and called, I forget what game it was like 4 games ago or whatever. I was just like,
it was
this kind of feels this feels right. Like, yeah, cool. Like his voice makes sense. I mean, I do miss Jordan. I really liked her commentary, but I was just like, oh, this feels good. Then the next game I was like, who are these people? They don't know how to pronounce anybody's names. Jordan, Russell,
neither do
Ray.
we.
And you're like, who are we? Yeah. Oh, that's also true.
But I mean, it's an interesting, setup, and be interesting to see how it grows. And I mean, it's the first year of it too. But I think I think for me, that's just been like the one adjustment that's that's kind of it's like, oh, we don't have our people anymore. And I was like over the moon when they won an Emmy for their coverage last year, for their last year on the on the job, and I was so excited for them that they got recognized for all the great work they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still working. So
Matt was not able to get his technology to work here, but he wanted to make sure we talked about Dwight and Sirk talk Black and Gold. He said that he appreciated the wealth of crew knowledge that you and Dwight brought to the mic to make each episode entertaining. Is there talk of bringing that back? Have you dabbled in that in podcasting since then, etc.? What's going on there?
I have not. So what happened? So Dwight, retired at the start of in advance of the 2020 season.
Yeah,
and they honored him, at the first game, which turned out to be like the only game, before the pandemic hit. So, with him retiring, we were like, oh, let's do this. And I was I had just moved to Cleveland, that previous, in the fall of 2019. So it's like I wasn't really necessarily going to be around as much. I'm like, oh yeah, this will be perfect. We can, just BS about the crew and talk about history and stuff like that. So we started doing it, and then basically the whole world went sideways. The once the pandemic happened, then all of a sudden I was working like 75-hour weeks. And it just became impossible. And then I had like a family illness, prolonged like family medical situation that, it was just like one thing, things just kept happening, and I just didn't really have the bandwidth all of a sudden. So it kind of, it sucked because we were having fun, but I just did not have the ability to do it at that point. And then It's just we just never picked back up with it.
Yeah,
we should. But
I get it. We're all hanging on by a thread here.
Right.
We started a podcast. We're
was,
like, nah.
Well, and it's I know it's a lot of work to edit it. I know that Ben knows that it's a lot of work to edit it and get it published and all that. I mean, there's just more to it than just doing the talking, right? And creating a product and publishing and all that. So
yeah, I mean, we should at some point, because I mean, it was fun. Like the ones we did, because Dwight had like all the old audio tapes from like the '96 season.
Yeah.
He had like his own, tapes of his broadcasts or something. So we were like every week we would talk about a game from that year or something, and he would play like the radio clips of the goals or something.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat to hear, like the historic
him calling it.
audio.
Yeah.
I guess I would say, never say never, but yeah, it the world just kind of blew up in a few different ways right after we started it,
and the world's fine now, so you should be able to just hop back.
Oh, yeah,
everything's
like,
perfect.
No big deal.
So what? So the off season is long. We have a I guess we should call it like a sister branding of stoppage time. If you guys ever want to come on here and just talk, and we'll sit back and listen, we'll be quiet, but we'll publish it for you. You let us know.
I'll edit it. I'll publish it.
We will do all the editing, right?
We will do all the editing.
That would be great. Okay.
I love Dwight though. He's hilarious. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, and Dwight, I think is I think I kind of took him for granted. Reading about him in your book, I don't think I fully appreciated his credentials and his history with the team. And it was great to learn more about him. And sounds like he has a lot going on too. And talk about selling high, retiring the first game of the 2020 season. Right. Pandemic and sale to Apple.
See ya.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mort, Trey, anything you want to add to the questions here before we let Steve go?
No, I have just thoroughly enjoyed listening in, and I'm catching up being a relatively, well, you can call it a new fan. I've been a fan since the 07 or no 06, 05 or 6 or something like that. But
well, you got in at a great time.
Yeah, it's been a good time, and and I have ordered the first book, but I'm sure I will order the second book here pretty soon as well.
Got to learn to read first, Mort. We told you that.
I know, but you know what? To Steve's point, I mean, it feels like there's not a whole lot of time for anything else. You have to just make sure you take that time. Yeah. And I'm going to take that time with this reading.
Yeah, Trey.
No, I don't have any. I don't have anything to add. No,
okay.
It's just fantastic catching up with you, and appreciate the time this evening.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're busy.
All right. Yeah, Steve. Thank you for making time for us.
Thanks, Steve.
It's the book's a great read, A Massive Collection, Volume 2, which there's a Volume 1, and then there's also is it A Massive Season?
Massive Season was the 2008 championship season. So for that one, I just basically took all the notebooks I wrote that year. Then I wrote stuff about the away games, and I wrote new chapters about other various things. So it just basically just covers the entirety of that one season where we won our first MLS Cup.
Okay.
So I wanted to just preserve every moment, so I wouldn't forget it.
Yeah, it was and a perfect season to chronicle. And then how can folks, follow you, see what you're up to, and get the book?
The books are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can always go to my website, which is sirkbook.com.
Okay.
And then on, Twitter, I'm at Steve Sirk. And in case that site totally implodes, I'm also on Threads at Steve Sirk.
There you go.
Excellent.
Seems like it's going to implode at
Any
moment at this
minute.
point.
Yeah, the whole everything.
The
world. Yeah.
Right.
Everything's terrible.
All right. Well, hey, we know how busy you are. We appreciate you spending time with us, Steve.
Yeah,
thanks for getting on, talking about the new book, and can't wait to see what else you're working on and all that. So
Volume 3
thanks again, and
teaser.
Yeah. I heard that there's more in the hopper, so we'll wait with bated breath.
There's still stuff that hasn't gone into the first 2 volumes, and
all right, very good. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right,
Go Crew, go
Later.
Browns.
Bye. Yeah. Shake weights.
Shake weights.
Shake weights.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me again. And I come with great news. After a dominating performance in Boston on Saturday, the Cappies will go to the MLS Next Pro Finals again for the second time in 2 years, back to back. Hell yeah, let's go. And I say dominant because the Crew 2 had more ball possession. They had 24 total shots versus their 7. They created more big chances. They had more accurate passing. They had a lot more passing, and so forth. And ironically, for it being that dominating of a performance and for a team that is as good at scoring as we are, we only scored when Rayo and Micheleto combined beautifully with passes inside their box in the very last 15 seconds of the game to score a winning goal. And it was Rayo's birthday, so I couldn't imagine he could have asked for a better birthday present. And that's it. We're going to come here and play against Austin, who beat the number 1 seed Colorado Rapids 2 yesterday, and the game will be at lower.com. And so I expect everyone to go. For example, last year we set the record for biggest attendance in an MLS Next Pro match, and it was around the mid 7,000s. But that record has been broken by the St. Louis City 2 fans, and I think that they put 9,500 people in the stadium. So we have to aim for at least 10,000 to guarantee that record stays where it should. I think a lot of people will go to this game. It's only $15. It's going to be a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I'm very confident that if we play like we have been playing in this playoff series, I think the team is getting hot when they have to. The coaching staff clearly understands what they have in their hands and is able to use it really well. And I think that we have a really good chance to repeat the championship. So if you can go to the game, go to the game. If not, like me, you celebrate it from far away. But everyone should keep their eyes open because it's going to be an awesome Sunday. All right? Yeah, so let's go Cappies. If this is my last address to you guys, to the podcast this year, I really appreciate having this opportunity. I really appreciate having the chance to talk about the Crew too. And talk to you guys next year or not. Let's see if I give a review after the final. All right, see ya. Go Crew. Oh, and I almost forgot. The Capi Bravo and the Nordecke are working on having a tailgate, so the details are not set in stone yet. But hopefully we'll have something and be able to communicate soon. And also we're going to try to make some banners. It's a very short turnaround, so we'll need some help. So if you have some time during the week to go and paint some cool banners to be shown at the rails in the stadium during the game, come on up. Follow Capi Bravo on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Threads as well. We'll be sharing the details there. All right, thanks guys.
Okay, we're back. As we're recording, we don't really know what's happening.
Thanks,
with Austin,
Bird.
Colorado, but thank you, Bird, for
Thanks,
that
Bird.
excellent summary of the Crew too.
I'm so pumped.
He's rooting for Colorado.
He's rooting for Colorado, as
I don't
they say.
blame him. He wants to get to the game.
Yeah,
right.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
So many.
I just want to see Austin.
Many,
win.
I'm told, are rooting against Colorado as the that's the PC way of saying that, so that the Crew 2 would host the final against
Austin,
a team that would be winning against Colorado. Austin. Okay, let's shift our focus to the first team and their quest in the playoffs this year, which we know we will participate in, but the teams against which we will play remains to be determined. I think everyone is on 33 games now.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on, what do they call this? Decision day? Is that what they? So they call it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well,
All right,
D-Day was
so,
taken, so they did Decision Day.
Okay, got it. Cool. That was really good. That was a good shout.
Thanks.
Let's take a look at where we stand, and then kind of what's coming up this weekend and what may unfold. So, Haz, can you talk through the table as it stands right now?
Cincinnati is in first with 68
Yes.
points in the East. Orlando is in second with 60 points in the East. Philadelphia is in third with 55. Columbus in fourth with 54. New England at 52. Atlanta at 50. Nashville at 49. Montreal 41. Then a bunch of teams trying to fight to get in over DC and Montreal.
Yeah. So I thought DC was out.
They are. They have
out.
played all 34 games.
Oh.
Because we got 15 teams in the East.
How
They already
indecisive.
played.
Yeah, and the way it sets
so-
up, the way it, like the teams under them, like win, lose, or draw, like one of them's going to jump them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney's like, we're out, I promise.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah,
He's out. He's already in England.
Yeah,
He gone.
That was the joke.
Oh.
Okay, so
Okay.
so let's thanks for that. All right, so if everybody tied, we would play New England, right? If everybody tied, we would play New England, number 4 versus number 5, and we would play at home, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So
right.
the big game was obviously with Nashville beating New England. Suddenly now a tie will be enough for us to secure home advantage.
This past weekend, yes, Nashville scored late, right, and beat New England.
No, they were up 3.
And
No, they were up 3-0
at
and
half.
almost gave it up.
And then
and almost
almost
gave it
lost
up.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't watch it.
and
I just read your
not
text
only would it be-
messages, and I surmised this from the text messages. Okay.
It wouldn't only be it'd be home field advantage in a 3-game series. So there's a
Correct.
possibility of 2 home games.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So if we tie, we secure home field advantage in
Tie or
4th
win.
place.
So
Could we potentially jump Philly if we tie?
Definitely.
Not with a tie, then Philly probably has to
Philly would have to lose.
Right.
Okay.
But
What's
if they
the tiebreaker?
lose,
Goal difference.
actually,
rock, paper, scissors.
hold on. Yeah, that's a good question.
Goal difference.
Because New
I would
England
imagine
should
goal
be behind
differential.
us on goal differential, would be behind us if they win, more than likely, unless they win by a lot of goals. So the question now is, who do we want? What do we want to happen? Is
Yeah, do
kind
we
of a
want the
better question.
3-6 game or the 5-4 game?
I think I want it to be right where it is.
Yeah.
I'll take New England, and I'll take playing Cincinnati
I agree.
next.
Oh, it
or
would be
whoever
fun.
they play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to avoid Orlando if at all possible.
Yeah.
You mean like as a travel destination, right? Like for yourself, or
It's way too far to
okay.
to
the
travel.
amount of miles. Don't even get me started.
Just-
and the amount of minutes too. Typically, when
Right.
one goes to Orlando, the
From-
minutes
you fly in
there's
the
just-
same
from
day.
my
Well, but
house.
also
Yeah.
there's too many minutes in the game. You give up 4 goals when you're in Orlando,
Yeah, that's also true.
especially when
True.
you're Kevin Molino. Okay, so
Kevin.
so what do we want? What do we want? Let's go around.
I
Ben, what do you want?
To not have COVID. I would also probably. I like the New England and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I just think, if we have New England at home, the home is clutch. So after the first game, if we're 4th, the next game, we'll play the best of 3, but then we'll play away, right? If we're 4th,
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna go away,
Assuming the higher seeded team doesn't lose, yeah.
That's something I want to get
yeah,
into
I didn't
as
even
well,
think about
is
that.
if we go to a 3rd, then that could have any influence on us going further into the tournament. The other thing we have to think about is here with a win, and a St. Louis loss, all of those Eastern teams are ahead of St. Louis in terms of the overall standing. So meaning that MLS would be to whoever wins the Eastern Conference, pretty much of those top ranked teams.
Yeah, it's based on the Supporter Shield standings.
That's right.
There was actually a really good infographic. I think probably the MLS put out. I don't remember what account I saw posting it, but it helped explain the weird playoff structure pretty clearly.
Oh yeah, that would be great to see because it's definitely not clear to me. So
well, if Atlanta wins,
with double headers,
the home and away series games don't have extra time; they go straight to PKs.
Yep.
There has to be a winner, and then other games do go to extra time. It's just like so confusing.
But the goal differential doesn't matter. It's just like it is a win.
First to win 2 games.
First to win 2 games.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to the point, I'm fine with the standing the way it is. I wouldn't mind it either. I would want to avoid Philly because of Philly's a tournament team. They know how to grind a victory. We played them recently. We know how that is. I'd be worried about Nashville moving up, and we have to play them. I don't want to avoid them. So I would take Atlanta or New England over any of those 2 other teams.
Yeah, and round one. I can get behind that.
Okay. All right,
but we have to pull this off though. That's the big thing because
we
Montreal
have to win.
And Montreal has to win. Now we don't have to win. We need a tie to be secure, but Montreal pretty much have to win for them to be secure in the playoff.
So yeah, you're saying they're going to be playing. They're playing to be included in the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, so are you guys? I mean, in the end, are you saying you don't want us to win against Montreal?
No, I still want to win, but yeah,
because that is what will propel us into 3rd place.
If New England beats Philly,
I don't imagine that they are.
I'd rather be
going
safe
to play that level of strategy. They're going to play this game to win against Montreal. Don't you think? They're not going to draw the game.
Yeah, they're
I just
playing
meant to win. Saying we want the revolution. In the end, does that mean you're rooting for a draw?
So you kind of want to have. So here's the thing: you want Philly to win because then you have the fallback on standing being what it is today.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a scenario where Chicago makes it in? Oh my gosh.
There is.
Or even Charlotte?
I mean, I think the easiest thing...
Yeah, it's because Charlotte, it's the only team that has an extra... them and Miami has an extra game midweek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
No, I mean,
Holy cow.
More you just said it. Philadelphia wins, we win, everything remains the same.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the crew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, I mean, New England could jump us if they win and we lose.
Yeah.
And then we don't have a home field advantage. So
yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Home field's important for the first round.
Not necessarily, because New England would jump us, but we would jump Philly because they would have lost.
If we lose.
because we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, not if we lose.
Yeah.
That's my point. Is a tie we're hosting. It's pretty much.
This is all very clear. It's very clear.
Yep.
Well, the Eastern Conference is separated by like 1 game, like in 2 different spots.
Yeah,
I don't remember it being like this at all. I mean, the Western Conference.
Yeah,
I
what
think,
you're saying, Ben,
0.
is like the difference between home field advantage and not is 2 points, and the difference and a couple, 4 teams, and then the difference between getting into the play-in game and not is about the same. There's like 4 or 5 teams in the hunt still. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yep.
Which is sweet.
Decision day going to be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like the issue with it, though, I mean, I know they do it on purpose. They all play at once. So it's just like...
Is that true?
I'm not a big fan.
That's true. I don't think
all the East and all the West play at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
they
what
do
it
that
is?
in the
Okay.
EPL. They
I
do
saw
that
that
across,
different times. Yeah.
I understand the reasoning for it, but there's a lot of soccer people want to watch. I mean, I haven't been a big fan of the all games start at the same time. That's a whole different thing. But
there's a reason for it.
Because I want to watch some of it,
Well, you could just like...
if I'm at a game, I'm not going to come home and like watch all the things I already know the score of.
Well,
Sorry.
so... Yeah.
But they do it so they don't make
turn the scores off and just watch the games. But there's I will admit, as much as I'm just kind of making fun of your point, it's hard to watch a game that's already happened, even if you don't know the score. It's just like
it's different.
I can't. I don't have enough time in my life to watch the game.
Right.
I'm sorry. Right. I generally don't rewatch any of our games because I just can't. Unless I was like at the game and way too drunk to really remember anything. Then I will go back and watch it. I am much more like to watch a game that I actually went to a game. Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was implied.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see how it shakes out. We got a game here. It's Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see what happens. And it's at home, right? All right. Who's going?
Oh yeah,
I'm going.
I'll be there.
Going.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Going.
We'll see
if I can walk.
So since we're on
if
this,
you guys see Ben, he just had COVID, so
so no kissing. You guys know, Stop kissing me.
Just as a refresher, and we will post this obviously. Let's. I'm gonna go through the predictions by everybody and see what people think about it now. So we had Haas beating Montreal 2-0. Well, Crew will beat Montreal 2-0. Trey had us winning 3-1. Ben 1-0.
Oh yeah.
Mars 3-0, and I have 1-0 too. I just remember that.
Yeah.
We hope
guys think that's going to be the game. That's going to be the game.
Last game of the season.
Not if Kevin Molino has anything to do with it. Okay, so no matter what the score is, if it's 0, if the opponent has 0. Just put Molino in. He'll take care of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, big thanks again to Steve Sirk for joining us. Get his new book, A Massive Collection, Volume 2. It's a great read for new and old Crew fans and new and old people. And
humans.
And go Cappies. Let's get the repeat, the debut repeat. Pulling for them. I think that's it. I've got a good feeling about this game. I think do I remember correctly, Mort, that everyone predicted a win against Montreal?
Oh yeah,
sure did.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see that unfold on Saturday. Until then, go Crew. Thanks everyone for joining the club. We hope you'll listen next week and every week, even in the off season, to celebrate or commiserate. We'll save you a seat. If you like this podcast, please give us 5 stars and subscribe. You can email us at upper90clubpod@gmail.com. That's upper90clubpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at upper90clubpod. Go Crew!
No, I can you think of something long? At the end of commercials, they're like,